And I'll turn it over to you, Dima. You're in charge.
All right. Let me just share my screens. So, I didn't work on it during break. I didn't have my PC, so I didn't have a ton of progress. One of the biggest things I've been trying to do is just getting rid of bugs. I still have this bug where certain abilities cause the character to not be able to do anything. And originally I thought I have like a enumeration setup where characters go into specific states when they're doing certain actions. So um where I'm trying to move the screen so you can see better. So right here, they're currently in the loading state, but if they were attacking, then they'd be in the attacking state. If they're ready, ready state, and so on and so forth. However, whenever they're being healed or buffed, anything that's not just a straight up damage, I don't know what happens. It acts normal. It says they were attacked, which is just saying like they were interacted with, and then they go back to what they normally were. But it just they can't do anything. They can't target anything. They just are there. And sometimes that happens to the person who's doing the healing too. They will like it's been different things every time, and I have no idea why. So
Are you
that's
using Mechanim, the state thing, to
no,
control this?
I can show the script actually, just like one of the scripts that shows it. Let me just find it. Where am I not finding the scripts? I'll just pull up one of them. Let me see if you
Yeah.
guys are gonna be able to see this. I might have to change the sharing. Okay, new share, screen. Okay, so you should be able to see the script right now.
Okay.
So if I go to the bottom here, I have two enumeration states, one for just like if they're enemy or not, and then here's like all the states that they could be in during the game, and it's just really weird. I think it's a lot of just because it's definitely to do with the states, I think, because their time, like the little speed bar that they have, the when their turn's ready, still acts. They can still be attacked. Like they're still in the game. They just themselves cannot do anything, and I think it has to do with the game thinking that they are still being in the attacked state, like when they're being healed. So it's thinking like, oh, well, they can't do anything while they're being healed, even though the healing's already done. So it's really weird. Um, I've been trying to like manually make it so then like once they're done being interacted with, they'll go back to the previous state they were in. And it kind of worked. I don't know if it's been really weird. But that's one of the major things I've been just trying to figure out. I think I'm close to fixing it. Once I do, hopefully the abilities like healing or I don't know why this changed to life steal ability, but my healing or buff ability should work. I also did create a new kind of ability called life steal, which was accidentally there, which is I just wanted to add a cool mechanic where certain attacks, if you deal damage, you'll heal that much based on how much damage you dealt to the target. So that was a one I was working on, and then I also decided to create just another major enemy to have for my major enemy spawner. So I'll just drag him in just so you can see it better. Actually, not even that. I can just click him here. So he's just a little ghost guy. That's pretty much it. He's got a little animation here, but that's pretty much it. It's been a lot of just trying to figure out bugs and stuff.
So
So
you're
fun.
not using Mechanim to transition among these different states. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't think so, no. So it's very weird. Um,
And you're not using timeline or anything fancy like that. You're
no,
just doing it all in scripting.
it's just all enumeration scripting, yeah.
Uh, my guess would be something about their exit from a state. Like you have some loop that's going through and saying, if I'm in this state, do this. If I'm
Yeah,
in this state, do this.
yeah.
And uh, often I forget how it works, but often with these kind of state transitions, you'll have the you have to have some explicit exit from the state that goes back to a neutral state that can then, I don't know.
Yeah, so what I have right now, I mean, it might look pretty messy because I don't remember what I was doing with it last, but if I go to a simple one like my healing, um, it just heals them. But if I go to where is it? I have like a thing that should automatically save. I think this is it right here. So when they're queuing their attack, which an attack could be a heal, it could be anything, just some sort of action, it saves the target's state before it changes it, and then it's supposed to then put their state back to what it was. Um, but I'm not finding that right now. But it's in there. I know it's in
Okay.
there. And it's just not working that well.
All right. Well,
But
fighting through bugs is what we do for a living. So,
yeah, so that's pretty much the main bulk of what I did.
okay. Any questions, comments, suggestions for Donato?
I'm not like, I'm not sure if I'm understanding all of it, but could it be that like two different characters are trying to set a state at the same time, and so it's like overwriting?
Like I thought maybe that might be it. It's really weird because like when you're doing a normal damaging attack, it goes fine, and two states are interacting with like two characters are changing states at that point. They're like doing different things. I think it's more just the fact that it's not damaging them, and for some reason it's getting really confused. That's the only theory I have, and it's something to do with that. I might have to make a whole new state, just call it like a healing state, so that it doesn't interact with all the damaging states and stuff, and just make it a lot more work. So I might have to do something like that, to be honest.
One other possibility with these are happening in the update, right?
Hmm.
So we don't know what order the updates on our different objects run, and we have no control over the order in which the updates on our different objects run. But we have something called the late update that is just like update, except it occurs after update. So it'll run all the update states, scripts, and then it'll run all the late update scripts. And so it may be that you need to put something in the late update, like maybe the initiation of your attacks is in update, but the response of your attacks is in the late update, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's one tool to order things. And because we don't know the order in which update functions run, one can run before the other. And so, it thinks it's attacking, but the other character doesn't know it's being attacked because the update on it hasn't run that says I'm in attacking state. And so, you might think a little bit about the ordering of things here. And the late update is a way to do that. You can have things that happen first and then things that happen second. We often use this with cameras, where we move our characters around in the update state, and then we point our cameras at them in the late update state after they've actually moved. I don't know if that would help your problem at all, but it's something to think about. If the order of operations, and you can see this by putting a bunch of debug statements in and seeing which one comes first, and it's debugging, and what are you going to do? You got to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, suggestions for Mr. Apon? Okay, we'll move alphabetically here today. So Abby, you're up. You're here. I saw you.
Yes. Screen sharing. There's Zoom windows in my way. Cool. So I spent most of spring break, at least most of my Unity time over spring break, working on the joystick, which is not what I wanted to spend my time on. I wanted to be able to finish the terrain, but as it goes. I thought I was pretty close, but then I was having this weird issue where my camera would just spontaneously fall to the floor. So I was like, okay, I'm tired of messing with this. I'll wait till class, see if anybody has any ideas before I start over. But it turns out I just fixed it, like within the last 5 minutes. So I'm quite happy about that. Joystick still doesn't work, but you know, the camera doesn't fall anymore. I was hoping to show, no, here I can try again, I guess. The actual like gyroscope camera thing, because that's kind of cool. But again, I don't know if it likes Unity or not. We'll give it like 2 seconds and see if it does. No. Oh, yay, it does work. Usually I didn't think it was going to work with Zoom. So anyway, this isn't a new feature, but I don't think I've gotten it working on a Zoom call before. So anyway, I'm turning my phone. You can't see it, but and that's what's turning the camera during play mode. So that's
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then I just show a little more of the terrain. There's not too much, but I did work a little bit more. Got some stuff. I got some hills. I have a very on paper, very detailed map of how it's all going to go now. So, yeah, I feel like I'm in a pretty good place now. Where I want it to be, but not terrible.
Okay, very good. I don't envy you working in phone world, but
Yeah, pros and cons.
well, it's a big market.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a bigger market for phone toys than there is for PC toys. So, any comments, questions, suggestions for Abby?
I have a question. This is Apon. Does the gyroscope let you move it up and down as well? Because it looked like you were just like going.
Yes,
I don't know
it
if that's
can.
incorporated.
It can, but I don't want it to, so I locked it. It just keeps things easier, especially with the joystick moving eventually, to just have things all at one incline. So I'll just make sure all the clues that we need are at that one level. If I feel like I need to, I might loosen it up a little bit just so it's not quite so rigid, but it's working for now.
You could set some angular limit that it could tilt, 5 degrees
Yeah.
or something. Okay,
Yeah, I might
Cool.
do that.
very cool. Any other comments, questions, suggestions? Okay, Mr. Campbell, are you here? Spencer, go ahead. You're up.
Since last time I finished going through all the code that I had to be adapting to a top-down view and everything. So I have the enemies spawning, I have the towers placeable. Basically all I need to do at this point, and what I've worked on since then, is adding in the more random stuff to whether or not I added it so you can only build towers on certain rounds. So it's basically just a random chance that you can build any given tower on any given round. I'll do the same thing with the perks that are available in the perk buying menu. And I need to convert the enemies to a top-down view because right now they're kind of sideways. Just rotating the prefabs will do that. But for the most part, I am in a good place. I need to improve the main menu, just make it look nicer. And I need to add a way so that the user can generate, or the player can generate multiple maps and then choose one before they hit play. And I'll probably also find some better tiles just to make the game itself look better.
Okay. Cool. Do you have a finance system in this game yet?
Yeah, I mean that was included with the asset store thing. So
Yeah.
you just get money based on the enemies you're killing.
Okay,
then-
cool. I hate that kind of game. First thing I do with those games is cheat and put a lot of cash in my account. So that's why I make everybody hand in game folders so I can cheat. Any comments, questions, suggestions for Spencer? Okay. We're going fast today. Let's see, Devin, are you here? Where are you? Devin's not here. Mr. Kluge, you're here. Peter, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, awesome. All right, I'll share my screen. Okay. Yeah, so I've mostly just been doing a bunch of bug fixes. And I've been getting a lot of bugs.
That destination can only be called on active
Yeah.
agent that has been placed on. So you got to make a nav mesh for this thing, right?
Yes. I was making nav mesh. I don't know if I can show you here. It's not
Have you
actually
got the
too
high
explained.
test, uh, procedurally bakeable nav mesh surface yet?
Did, yes. So
Okay.
basically, I think the problem is with where I place the enemies. So it'll make a nav mesh, but there's certain like angles of the terrain right here. Like for instance, this cliff.
Yeah.
It won't bake a nav mesh there. I think I maybe need to change the angle a little bit. But basically, when it places an enemy there, the AI can't figure out how to chase me around. So I think
Yeah.
that's why it's causing all the errors.
Okay.
Um,
That should be an easy fix.
yeah,
I mean, I forget how you're placing enemies, but I suppose you could. I think that in the agent, there's a test to see if you're on a nav mesh surface, and you could just delete that enemy if it wasn't. I don't know.
yeah, that's a good idea. I'm just like getting the terrain data like directly from the terrain. So I'm getting like the random X, random Z coordinate, and then like getting the Y coordinate. So yeah, it shouldn't be too hard, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the other thing I've been doing is I now have water, very nice, pretty water. I have tidal erosion around the edges. So basically it'll smooth out the terrain on the edges. If there's a cliff, which you can kind of see right here, and where the slope is above a certain angle, it won't smooth out the terrain there just to kind of preserve the cliffiness, I guess, if you will. I also got the cluster to place, the object cluster. I think I mentioned this last week. I just wasn't able to show it. So it's now placed in these little clusters of trees here. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of bug fixes. I got an infinite loop error a couple times, which is not fun, where it basically continually try to place objects at a certain level, except there was no terrain at that level. So it's just continually trying to place objects over and over again, failing.
That's the danger of wild true loops.
Yeah. So I fixed that by just basically counting an attempt as a placement. So basically I figured it would create a more natural looking terrain. So if there's, a little bit of terrain at a certain level, it'll place, a few enemies there, but it won't place the full, 100 that I've set it to place, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty much it as to progress. But I think one thing I'd like to do in the future is maybe, I don't know if you can see, the trees themselves are all oriented in the same direction. So they're all kind of rotated in the same direction. I might just give them a random rotation, make it look a little nicer. Probably also going to add like grass, like 3D grass, rocks, stuff like that. I guess the bulk of my terrain generation work has pretty much been finished. I like to move into like the GUI and some of the like enemy AI stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, it looks good. I mean, that's a procedurally generated world using the Terrain Toolkit API, which has a lot of powerful tools in it, and it looks good. Way to go.
Yeah, it's really fun working with it. Spend hours just like building terrains and running around. It's fun.
finding the right settings.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any comments, questions, suggestions for Peter? One, two, three. Okay, David, you're up.
All right. Let me share screen here. Yeah. So last week, or mostly the weekend, I was trying to get the house connected using do I have the script up? Yeah. Using just simple script, just basically on hitting the collider, it triggers an event change. I set it up so it will either go by the scene number or the scene title, depending on it. It just lets me using where's the statement? Oh, up here. this bull right here. It will just let me switch them back and forth depending on what I want. It's been throwing me no errors, but for some reason, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So that's currently what I'm trying to figure out. Oh, okay, maybe here. I guess I should have prayed for the game to start in the first place before I wanted the collider to work. So, all right, so that might not even load. So that's basically what I was doing. I was connecting the house and working on expanding the house.
The idea here is instead of just going out the end doors on the right and
Yep.
left side of the scene, you'll also be able to go out that door on the side. Is that-
Right. This will bring you upstairs, downstairs. It kind of connects it that
It's-
way.
Okay,
I can show you that. I'm also working on exteriors too. So I have something basic right now. I think it's the outside bottom. This is what I have just for outside. It's not completed yet, but there's going to be a exterior bottom, which will lead to kind of it's the outside of the fraternity. You'll see the house, but it also lead to another scene where you're near like a little river. And then I also want to do a porch on the second floor of the house. So it's going to be pretty connected. I want in all to have, right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I want to have 10 scenes that the character can run through. And wow, having a tough time running this. Yeah.
Zoom and Unity clash.
Yeah. My computer would also be better as a marshmallow toaster too. So then, it's that also, but
One thing you can do if you want to do a demo, there's a Unity Record is a pretty seamless movie making thing that you can like set it up to record your gameplay. And so, if your computer's not enough to actually show us it working in class here, you could make a movie and give us a tour of the house that was all error free because you got to do it ahead of time when no one was looking.
oh yeah, that'll be probably what I have to do.
Okay.
I don't know why it won't run properly, but like if I'm not on Zoom, it usually just works fine. But
Yeah, sure. No, I run into this all the time. There aren't enough cycles.
yeah.
Show us a couple of the other rooms just for.
Sure, yeah. So I don't know if everybody's seen all of them, but it's just a couple bedrooms. Kitchen's all done. I wanted to make it colorful. I wanted to make it look, they're all a little different. They all have a little. So this is one of the hallways. There's probably going to be 2 different hallways considering there's 2 floors. What else? Oh, and just having a grand old time here. This is just a little living room.
Cool. Very cool.
And then I think bathroom. Yeah, bathroom's completed. Why?
What's going on in chat? Sampling random polygons, making sure. Oh, you guys are talking about something else. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I have so far. And I'm right now, like I said, I'm working on the exteriors, maybe a couple more rooms.
Okay. Comments and suggestions for David.
It looks like you're supposed to have whatever those dividers are, but that's pretty funny how they're not showing at the
Yeah.
bottom. It's like, oh, you just have toilets right next to each other so you can see each other.
I think that's because it might be the order of where they appear in the order and layer. I don't know if like the background is a different. So on the far right, your order and layers 2 right now. Like if you make it like 30, maybe it'll show up like just something crazy. That's what I do with all my characters. I make them 30s to make sure. Nope, never mind. I thought that would have
Interesting.
done it. So no, they're just invisible.
Maybe I wonder if no, that's 0. Weird. I'll have to look at that. But,
Hmm. With these sprites, you get to specify their depth somehow.
Yeah, so if you have like something with a lower order in the layer, it will go behind any objects that have any higher order. So that's how I was able to make my background have these like layering, different like shapes and stuff.
Okay, well, that's outside my purview. I never play with 2D, but it looks very interesting. And that's pretty cool. You've got a cool house built there.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, suggestions for our make-believe fraternity here? Not make-believe, it's based on real life.
Oh, yeah. A lot cleaner, though.
A lot cleaner. Okay, Will, you're up. Howlett, are you here? Yeah.
Oh shoot, I'm unmuted. I am here. Hold on. I'm sorry about that. You guys probably
go
heard me
ahead.
coughing.
Fine. We're used to this kind of hiccup. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I unfortunately I got pretty sick. I traveled over the spring break and I got sick, which is very frustrating.
What'd you get sick with?
I haven't gotten my hands on a COVID test. I'm a little bit worried about that, but I'm not like super sick. But it is like a dry cough.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's annoying. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm still not getting very much done. But I did watch the Rocky movies, so I'm starting to get inspired. And I'm feeling a little bit like Rocky 1, so that's good. Rocky 2 is terrible. Oh my gosh, an abomination. But I did a little bit of coding. I have in the past couple days, just like super simple, just like a procedural grid. And yeah, it's basically just like you've got a grid controller or whatever that instantiates a bunch of cubes within a nested for loop. And you iterate the I and j positions in the position vector with a single rotation value, and then creates random colors by getting the mesh renderer on the prefab, so the cube prefab, and then it generates a random color value and a new material, which sort of sets it to this generic shader. I'm pretty sure that's how that's working. And then it sets the color to the random color value and sets the material of our renderer to our generated material.
Cool.
And this whole thing.
And this is, do you have an idea where this is leading? I mean, what this?
Yeah. I mean, I have all my, my big ideas and everything, but I haven't quite like found the right workflow. So I guess what I'd like to do, this next step is, and I've added this, but it's not working quite right, is like to add Perlin noise to this. And then potentially to organize the colors according to like a cellular automata script. So just adding in different pieces and figuring out how to sort of like get multiple things going. And then I'll try to see where that goes. So
one little tip that I've found helpful with these procedural thing generators, stack generators, is to make them children of the generating object, which is pretty easy. Your script is on the generating object, and when it instantiates one of these cubes, you can then just say that game object is its parent is the transform, and it'll make it a child of the generating object. And this it doesn't affect gameplay at all. It's just an organizational thing that you then have a single object that has all these cubes as children. And, which, you know, if you end up wanting to delete it, you don't have to go out and find all the cubes and delete them. You just delete the parent object.
Okay.
And you can move it around as well.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Cool. So remind us what your big picture is?
I want to have basically a cellular automata simulation on a 2D plane that is visualized on a sphere.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying it, but you guys will see. It'll make sense.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Any comments, questions for Will? Suggestion? Comments, questions, suggestions? CCS? Nope. All right, Dorothy, you're up.
Sure. So I have progress, but then also I had some like backwards. So it's a lot of, I have this running now that if I run it, I can now actually pick things up and then go to the little menu, right? And then you can delete them. None of this, like, obviously you see there's like big red squares, and that's just because I just put red squares in because I was like, I can always draw something later, but that's not really, like, I need to get the actual game working before I make things pretty. So that's working now. The problem I found was that when somehow in the process of making that, it messed up my bringing over the customization from the other screen. So now I'm going back and I'm fixing that. And I was working on it a little bit ago again, because I was trying to figure that out again. And I'm glad I made a copy of my game because I'm pretty sure I broke the game. So
Yes,
the broken one.
The 3 rules of computing are backup, backup, and backup.
Yeah. So I deleted that. And then I have a new idea on how I think the reason why it got, because it was working before. And I think I just have a naming issue somewhere where it's named twice and it's taking the one that's not being changed. But I didn't want to mess with it right again before class and then not have something to demo, at least. This is where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is why they have these fancy version control systems that, you know, maintain copies of everything you've done back to the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And you can roll it back if you want to. I've never figured them out, but that's what real software engineers do.
Pretty much it for me for now. I was about to start fixing up animation, and then I was like, well, let me make sure everything works so far. And then it didn't. And I went, I probably should fix this now.
Okay. Well, the demo that you handed in with your progress report did animate, and it did pick up things, and it did put them in the little inventory system. So whatever version you turned in, that one seemed to be functioning.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Matt says, I use Git with Unity. Yeah. The thing I've seen with Git with Unity is it maintains all the copies of the game in the game, so that your game bloats up tremendously as you make more and more versions of it. But yeah, it does work. Any other comments, questions, suggestions for Dorothy and her pet?
I had a quick question to Zapon. What was the goal for the game again, like for the player? Like they're supposed to collect things, it looks like?
Yeah, I'm gonna have them collect things I wanted to make it more like story mode. So you're gonna go around and collect things to get to a final goal. But I'm trying to get like the story per se isn't so much my main topic. So it might be like a last minute thrown in story. I'm trying to get all the other parts working first.
Right, the costume customization was the original really big topic, right?
Yes.
Any comments, questions? in which case we'll move on to Matt. You're here, right? Hi, Matt.
Yep. I don't really have anything new to demo. I've mostly just been doing like bug fixes and refactoring, and I had a lot of other stuff to do over the spring break. So
Remind us your big topic.
the procedural infinite world generation. I think I'm like 3 videos from the end of Sebastian Leg stuff, and then once I'm caught up with that, I'm going to work on enhancing it with some probably water and trees, but I'm still kind of fixing up issue that it has and getting caught up on those videos you had to.
Okay. Well, that's a long series. I know, I've been through it.
Yeah.
And any comments, questions, suggestions for Matt and his procedural world? It's interesting, we've got 2 procedural world people here who've taken completely different approaches. One using the toolkit API, and the other modifying meshes from scratch. And they're both hard and interesting. So that's cool.
Yeah, I definitely want to take the mesh approach because it's a useful principle to know for other things too, because you can apply it to other sorts of procedural modeling as well, which can be fun to experiment with.
Yes, and you can make an infinite world, which you couldn't do with the toolkit.
Yeah.
Because you don't have any control in the toolkit over what Perlin noise you're sampling and so forth. So yeah, but very cool. Any comments, questions, suggestions? If not, Andy, you're up here. Andy, where are you?
Hey, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. I'll share my screen. So I have been working on my enemy placement as well as the AI for it. And I've been having this issue where, can you guys see what I'm working on?
Yes.
So I've been having this issue where I have I follow this video by Brackeys. It's about A-Star. It's like this asset pack that you could add. Anyways, so my enemies spawn in randomly, which is great, and it spawns in a random number of them, but they only go to the location that my main character starts in, which isn't what I want. So on each of my prefabs, I have the scripts, or that's not the right one actually. Yeah. So I have the scripts added to them to make it follow, but in the seeker script, or no, the destination setter script actually, it's taking in my whale, which is the main character, but it won't let me add my whale from my actual game. It wants my prefab whale, which the location transform is just set to this location or wherever I have it placed. It just won't take in this one, which is the constantly updating location for the enemies to follow.
So you could have your enemies find game object with tag.
Okay.
And have the whale tagged as player, or make your own tag whale and have it so that it actually looked around in the scene to find the active player.
Okay.
And then it could target that rather than the prefab.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But the tag the player tag is a very useful one to find things with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll look into doing that.
Okay.
But
It
that's
looked good, the movement and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good asset pack, or yeah, that I found. So, and then I also have this shark on a Segway that I had one of my friends do for me because I quite like him. He's going to be one of the bigger enemies that I'm working with. So
very cool.
Yep.
Oh, this 2D stuff is too funny. Okay. Any
so-
comment, anything else? Any comments, questions, suggestions uh, for the island paradise? Okay, Peter, Real, you're up. You here?
Great. Yeah, let me share my screen for you guys.
Oh boy, we get to see the cars.
All right, so I think the last time I presented, I let you guys know I was falling a little bit behind. I have been behind a little bit on my schoolwork just with some of the stuff that went on over break with jobs and whatnot. Sorry, hold on. Let me go close my door real quick. All right. Yeah, so most of the work I've done is overhauling some of the car mechanics. I've had some issues with the original beginner car script I made for the controller. I didn't really like it, and I'm having a tough time appending stuff to it. So what I've been doing is I've been playing around with different car scripts. I've been watching some stuff on YouTube and looking at more advanced car scripts to kind of base my car on. This one's very skatey. Trying to append some of the stuff to it. I don't think it was really meant to be expanded on. It can be, but I don't have a good understanding of what's interacting with what. So I'm going to try and overhaul this and go with a more advanced car controller. And right now I'm in the process of watching like an 1.5 hour long video, kind of digesting it, taking notes on it, and eventually build a car controller off of what this guy is going off of. So I'll probably end up doing that. And then also a lot of my work driving back and forth from Connecticut and back has been just brainstorming some stuff related to my game. So I've come up with a few problems or points of interest, and I've thought of ways to handle these. I'm citing my progress report here. Some of my questions were, what if I fall off the road? What if my car flips? How will I time the cars? How can I keep local high scores? And these aren't exactly the car physics stuff, but this is these are necessary items for creating a game where you implement car physics. So I've been thinking about these and brainstorming solutions for this. I've come up with 4 good solutions for each one of these problems, along with some others that I came up with. So most of my work isn't physical. It's not too much in the game, but a lot of theoretical stuff and stuff that'll hopefully move my game along quicker when I get to these design points. But yeah, overhauling the car controller and brainstorming some issues with the game and the overall playability.
In these advanced car controllers that you're looking at, what kind of stuff are they fiddling with? Have you figured out what they're doing to control the physics? Is it just the torque curve, or are they moving the force application point around, or are they adjusting the length of the suspension? What kind of stuff do they?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It's kind of all of that. This system that I have right now is kind of a accelerate, decelerate, brake, and turn system right now. There's absolutely no real suspension stuff. There's no wheel transformation. There's not a lot of interaction with the car and the surface. So yeah, exactly. These advanced car physics are taking into account more realistic variables. So there is a lot of stress on suspension, how the car will handle, depending on like the rate at which it turns and which speed. And the acceleration and deceleration are a little bit more mathematically defined in the sense of like it handles more like a realistic car instead of just the speed slowly ticking up as it goes. It's variable dependent on it was a bunch of different things. It was power, like the incline of the car, and a bunch of other different stuff. I'm trying to peruse over my notes here that I've been taking.
Did you ever do anything with the different road surfaces?
I have, yeah. I looked at that email, and yeah, I appreciate you sending me that. I actually have that equipped to the car right now.
I had a lot of fun with that one. That was
Yeah.
cool because, you know, you drive out onto the ice surface and the car basically just slid. It was very cool.
Yeah, it's funny.
And it turned out to be pretty simple. It wasn't, it was just the suspension stiffness that you had to change, and everything worked.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't erase his hard drive without finding that.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments, questions, suggestions for Peter? Nope. All right. Stop. Let's see. Roshan, are you here?
I am.
Okay.
So I did a lot of like work over break instead of schoolwork. So I wasn't working so much on this Unity project, but I did get a start scene. So I just gotta wait for the Zoom thing to move. So I have this pretty simple start screen that fits my game's actual art that I'm going to stick with. And I got these buttons to work, so it goes right into the scenes. I cleaned up this scene pretty well. And yeah, I was kind of just fine tuning some things when I did get a chance to work on this, but I was doing like, I think I logged 20 plus hours in Unity for my job. And so I was kind of brainstorming all the ways that I could take the things that I was learning at work and putting it into this game. So like idle animation and like audio. So I think if I can get this project to a good point, I'm going to add in that kind of stuff.
What's your job in Unity?
I make like VR demos for
Really?
research projects.
Is this Vimy or?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Vimy's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, well, audio is always, audio always adds a whole nother dimension of the control of your player's mood. If you make the music suspenseful, it builds tension. If you make it light and happy, then they think they're having a good time. So yeah, that's very cool. And the haptics are all working.
Yes, they are still working.
That's a major accomplishment. Okay, any comments, questions, suggestions for Roshan? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
Good. I've been working on it. Comments, questions, suggestions? No? Okay. Elijah, you're up then. Where are you?
I'm over here somewhere.
Okay.
Okay, so overbreak found asset packages for like the art that I want. So I got to work on that and started building out like, I guess, levels to kind of figure out how I want it. Where in the world? I want to get rid of this. To kind of figure out how I wanted it to look.
Looks cool.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to go for like a jungle theme, kind of like, I don't know, some sort of treasure run. Yeah, and I also got this guy. He looks pretty good. Yes.
I recognize him. He was in some he was in some demo at Unity. Yeah, he's a character.
So I'm starting out. I wanted to do UI stuff, but I wasn't sure like what kind of art style to go for. So I wanted to get the assets first. That way I could kind of base my art off of that.
Clouds are great. Those are
yeah, they're pretty cool. I think I have to work on like the render distance a little bit because like that looks kind of weird.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
Disappear in the distance.
Yeah, but I think they look pretty cool. That was just part of one of the asset packages, so that was nice. So I'm still working on like these kind of puzzles, but it's like you have this gap, got to figure out how to get there. And there are certain places that you can place portals. I'm trying to think of like some way to kind of hint to the player that, hey, you can place a portal on this surface, because you can't just place portals wherever you want. So I'm thinking about doing something like this, where there's some sort of vegetation on the walls or floors where you can do that. I don't think I like these plants exactly. And also when I place a portal, you can like still see the plant sticking through, so that doesn't really work. But I'm experimenting with something to figure out how to inform the player that, hey, place a portal there. So I've started doing some levels just to teach the player how to do some stuff. And then when we get to, I guess, the third little part, there we go. When we get to the third little section here, I made a button that opens the door over there when you step on it, like a pressure plate. So like the idea here is this will teach you how to like pick up objects to open the door and get through. So mostly it was like the level stuff that I did. Art is hard. I mean, I didn't do any of this art, but like just level design is a pain in the butt, trying to make things look decent-ish.
Well, you've done a good job. I mean, it looks great.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back through and add a bunch of plants to make it look more jungly. Like right now it's just the building, so I want to add a bunch of vegetation to make it look more jungly. But yeah, that's pretty much that. Next I want to work on the UI to get just so that starts to make more sense. And then once I have the UI and it makes sense, when I can do like the recording, like I know what state I'm in the recording, I want to make sure that that feels good to play. And then after that, I may add some more game mechanics and levels. So
very cool. With that button pressure plate thing, is that from the 3D game kit, or did you make it yourself?
I made this button.
Okay.
And its mechanics.
Actually, I don't know what version of Unity it requires, but the 3D game kit has pressure plates and triggers and things that have like fuses that go to different places. And I recommend the light version of it as opposed to the full bore version of it, because the full bore thing's gigabytes, but
oh my goodness,
the lightweight version has a lot of the tools in kind of a demo world that you can look at. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think like eventually I think I'm gonna kind of redo how I'm doing this so that I can have like, okay, you need to press multiple pressure plates to open one door. So that's going to require a little bit of rearranging of the scripting, but
yeah,
that's me later.
Well, that was one of the things that was in that.
Yeah.
In that game kit was keys. You know, you had to collect 3 keys, and that would then unlock a door. Things like that. I don't know. It's just a toolkit that has a lot of tools, and we don't always need to reinvent the wheel. So
yeah,
that looks good. It's your art direction there is quite interesting. It's a very strange looking world, but looks very cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but it's very cool.
I don't know. It's some sort of like temple thing. It has faces. I don't know. I just needed to fill this space, a little staircase in case you fall.
And this was free on the asset store, or did you buy it?
No, I paid for all the jungle stuff, but there is like a lot of different, like there's a lot in this pack to kind of pick through. So and it fit, it kind of matched that art guy. So
very cool.
Yep.
Okay. Any comments, questions, suggestions for Elijah?
Seems like there's a lot of stuff in chat that I'll take a look at, some suggestions on like
Chat. So
vines and stuff.
Portal does it simply with white paint.
Oh, you mean where they can place things?
Forest,
White paint will maybe look a little bit out of place in a jungle. Cave art. Yes.
You could have some sort of explanation like portals don't work on carbon-based materials. Thank you, Matt. That's a good idea.
That is. And that's definitely following the Portal vibe. That seems like something that game would have. But
Okay, great. Any comments, questions, suggestions? Wonderful. All right, pride of place here, Forrest, you're up. Pride of place, you come last in the list. It's the pride of place.
So I have a couple things that have changed since last time I showed. I had to restructure my prefab for my character because previously I had the rotation script on the root, and that causes all sorts of problems with like the canvas rotating or any attached cameras rotating. So I pulled, so the root still has all of the, a lot of these are not being used right now, still has the network transform, the player control, the network object script, but then like the crossbow and this, which is actually just another copy of the sprite placed on top, these ones will just have the look at mouse script, which is still only local and not working properly. But I did that to just like set myself up for the future. I've also added a new enemy. I got all of my enemy scripts to be network behaviors now. So they're being controlled by the server and not by any specific player. I have this spiker enemy that follows you around for a short while and then stops, and after a couple seconds blows up, which I need to redo the sprite work for because it looks pretty terrible when it's that big. And I have these player labels now, which I can show better, I think, in this. So on the game, it always shows you as player 0 when you start as the host. The host is always 0, but what it should do is when you have a server, every player that joins is going to get their own unique number. Yeah, a lot like a pufferfish. And, oh, I don't know how to hide all my stuff over here. Another thing that I was looking at that kind of bothers me is you can see like right here when the character moves versus right here when the character moves, it's much more snappy on the server. And that's because there's currently like a server side movement is how it's working. The player tells the server what it wants to do, and then the server actually moves the player and then sends that information back to the player, which just causes that like very laggy, floaty feel. I've tried to fix that a little bit, but what I tried didn't really work. So I think that might take a little bit more work. What else? Oh yeah, the player labels. And I still haven't gotten the Cinemachine cameras to work. I've been putting that on the back burner while I've been working on the more like combat focused mechanics, like the enemies and stuff. But that will be my next task once I'd like to get the enemies to actually affect the players and vice versa. I'd like you to be able to kill the enemies and have the enemies make you respawn. But I haven't gotten there yet.
I like that pops up when you get close to it. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm still tweaking the like cooldowns on those things and stuff, but.
Okay. Very cool. Any comments, questions, suggestions?
Are you going to, is the rotation, like the rotation of the players, like all the players are looking at the mouse just on one screen?
Yeah.
Are you going to have like, okay, only my character follows my mouse and other people can see that?
Yeah, that's the hope. That's why I have to get it into a network behavior. Once I have it as a network behavior, there's a bunch of stuff like if you're the owner of the character, then you can fire this script. And if you're not, then it just won't happen. And also it's going to be related to the way that the look at mouse works is it takes information from the camera in relation to the mouse position is like my best understanding of it. So when you have one camera that everyone's sharing, it's just not going to work even if I make it a network behavior. So I have to get the Cinemachines working so that each player has their own camera as well.
That makes sense. For some reason, I just thought you just weren't passing in like a rotation thing, but that makes sense that, yeah, where it's following the mouse is first.
I've never played with the Cinemachine in network world, so I can't comment on it, but Cinemachine may be overkill for a 2D world. And I'm going to talk about Cinemachine when we're done here, so perhaps that'll give some insight. Although I don't talk anything about the 2D world Cinemachine. I did download the latest Cinemachine example assets, and there were a lot of 2D sample assets in it now. This is version 2.8, I think. And so you might look at them to see how they're doing their 2D camera in Cinemachine. They've got like grouping cameras and other stuff like that, that who knows whether it'll work.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments, questions, suggestions? All right, well then my turn.